So you're going to need two things today. You're going to need a strap, like a strap that you use for your leg, but you can use a tie, you can use a scarf. I'm actually using like kind of an old cord cable kind of thing. And the second thing is like a thick book. So I actually have my dictionary, my Italian dictionary. So an encyclopedia or just something big and thick. So I'll just give you a few minutes just to get those bits. We're going to have our feet wider than hip distance apart. And with your feet hip distance apart, you're just going to very slowly just bring your weight into one hip so that your hip hitches. So your hip hitches up. And the other one goes down, and just feel what that does to the waist and how the hips on each side are doing the opposite thing. And then go through the center, and then just feel how when you go to the other side and you put more weight into the other leg and your body tilts the other direction, just feel what's happening through the hip and the femur joint. And then once more, just go to one side, and this time close your eyes and just kind of feel into the movement of the pelvis and the leg bone. Feel your waist muscles, and you're not aiming for a side bend, but you're feeling all the connection points from the hip up through the side of the body, through the waist, and also the psoas muscle from the hip into your thoracic spine. And then go to the other side. Keep your eyes closed if you feel comfortable to, and you want to go slow, and we're just going to gently bring the hips forward in a circle, and you're trying to make a small circle, and you want to go as slow as you can so that you can feel all the bumpy bits along the way that when you go fast you don't notice. And I want you to have the hands listening on the hips or whatever feels good for you, front or side, and just go really slow. Just take your time. Use the time to slow down from your day and let yourself notice your breath. And notice what has to happen for you to go backwards. What's the tailbone doing in this movement? So staying curious. And when it feels right to you, changing direction, but go slow. Notice where you want to change direction. Is it through the front or through the back? And keep with the awareness of the tail. And I want you to notice what happens in your middle back as you move. The lower body. What are you feeling? How are your hips in relation, or sorry, your ribs in relation to your hips? Are your ribs doing the opposite? Are they counterbalancing? And again, be so curious. And then let's do a little the other direction again, just thinking about the rib relationship to the hips. And once more the other direction, and just think about your feet. How are you massaging into your ankle joint as you move the femur, the hips? Good. And the next time you come back into kind of a center position, so you'll have to come into the center, we're just going to think of a figure of 8, yeah, lying on its side. So it's going like up and down in the middle, and then up the other direction and down. So you're going to do this with your hips, but we're going to break it down. So bring your hands to the front of the hips, bring one hip forward, so let's say the left hip forward, and then bring the left hip behind as the right hip goes forward. So the right hip circles back as the left hip circles forward. So you're doing this salsa move. So as one hip goes forward, the other circles in the opposite direction. And again, close your eyes. And this time, slight bend through your knees, and it'll give you so much more range of movement. So bend through the knees. Think of that figure of 8. Now, if that feels available to you, bend your knees a little more. And try and think now less of hip swings, but directing from the front of the pelvis and making the circle. So it's like your two sides of your sacrum are doing different things. So slow it down. And then if you can really sense into that figure of 8, see if you can reverse the direction. And there may be some great clicks through the spine when you do that, because we always tend to go our favorite direction first, our habitual direction. So notice those clicks and creaks. I definitely have them. And then really free your hips and just go a little smoother into them. Let yourself be like a wave moving through them, and notice how the shoulders are going and reflecting the movement of the hips for one more round of your figure of 8. And so we've warmed up the knees a little too. Good. Last one. And then slowly bring yourself back up and then shake out your knees. And then you're going to walk your toes in a little and your heels in, so you're not as wide. And now we're going to bring our weight into the side of our foot, forwards, and side of the other foot, and backwards. So we're making a circle now with all of our weight through our body, and we're not really bending through the waist now or focused on the hips, we're focused on the weight through the whole leg. So your hands can be wherever they want. And I want you to focus on awakening the ball of the foot from little toe to big toe. Drop your shoulders, your jaw, and then reverse the direction. When your legs are too wide, sometimes it's hard to do. We're kind of in a middle ground. If you find it's difficult, you can always bring them closer together. And notice if as you go back, do your toes lift or do they stay planted? Good. Nice. And then notice the relationship of your ankles to your hips to your shoulders. They are all moving together, following the same flow. And then once more, other direction. And the other direction. Good. And now just bounce through your knees and bounce up and down. So you're down and up and up. It's like you're on a little trampoline. And my toes are staying on the ground, but my heels are lifting slightly. And my shoulders are bouncing, and I'm just letting go of any tension. Shake your arms, relax your chin. And then move your hips from side to side and just like a shimmy. And shake out your shoulders, your hips. Good. And then let's take the arms, bring them out to the side, and then shake your hands up. Up and up and up and up. Bounce the heels, bend the knees. And again, let your head move, whatever feels good for you to release. And then slowly melt your hands down, and then melt your shoulders forward until you're into kind of a forward bend. Wherever feels good, bend your knees and just bounce. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Just letting the whole lower back, the lower body relax. And then bounce all the way back up again. Reversing gradually, lovely, very nice. Good. And then just a last few seconds just to bounce it all off, whatever, and shake it all off. Good. Good. And then from there, very nice shaking. Inhale once more, take everything up, 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 up. And then let's do a side tilt to one side, whatever feels good for you, reaching it out, stretching it out. Bend the knees, bring it forward into a diving position. And then bring it around into the other side. I hold on to my fingers here, but whatever feels good for you. Move your head and your neck if there's any tightness. And then slowly bring everything up. And then wrap your arms at your back. Reach your hands away, come forward and just rock your head. And rest, if that feels restful. Bend your knees more so that your tummy rests on your thighs. Close your eyes and have 3 deep breaths. And then keep breathing, but just let your hands drop and come to the ground. Rest. And breathe. And then slowly find your feet and gradually uncurl bit by bit up through the spine. little by little, little by little, until you find your horizon. And when you're on your horizon, close your eyes and just feel into the symmetry of your body now. If we did this at the start, actually, you may notice that there would have been differences in the two legs. And just notice now if there's a feeling of wholeness, sense of two sides of the body engaged. Notice your hands wherever they're lying. Are they symmetrical? Does one arm rotate more in or out? Just notice. Always be curious. And then from that position, just rest deeper into your spine. So just think about, how can I soften my brain, literally my mind, and just let all the muscles around the top of the spine soften. Let go of any effort and just let yourself imagine a lovely warm flow of water coming down from the brain, flowing over the cervical spine. And wherever you take a breath in, just imagine that like a wave in the body, coming a little back up, and then exhaling, going a little bit lower, little by little. Notice where you want to spend longer with your breath. Maybe you're in your throat now, just breathing in. Exhaling, dropping a little lower down. And again. Letting go of any tension around the chest bone, the sternum. And just notice this effect on the rest of the body. Relaxing the belly button, the area of the lower abdomen. And then slowly just bring your awareness to the tops of the hips and let the rest through the muscles of the hips, the thighs, the knees, the calves, into the heels. And relaxing through the sole of the foot. Just letting any of whatever's been shaken off from our movement just to settle and to drop down into the earth to be recycled. Lovely. Lovely. Just letting your standing, centering practice just settle into the body, and notice the awareness of your whole body from your feet up. Maybe your feet feel magnified now. It's almost like the feet are bigger than the brain or the head. It's like we've kind of inverted. We've started with so much awareness of the lower body that maybe the lower body is feeling expanded. And then very gently, I just want you to slowly bend the knees. You can keep the eyes closed. Just bend the knees softly where it feels good. And notice how that affects your lower back. Notice what happens to my lower back when I do this. What happens to my tailbone. And then slowly, I want you to press into the floor to bring your head up towards the ceiling. So I'm not saying straighten your knees. Notice that. I'm saying press into the floor so that you engage your feet. You waken up through the legs to lift you up, and it's very different, and your tailbone lengthens beautifully when you do that, and it points down, and you may even feel your buttock muscles engage. And again, relax everything, bend the knees, exhale. Just feel there's so much relief in that. The sternum can soften, everything can soften. The knees are bent, and then again plant the feet and do it 50% slower this time. Plant your feet. And from your feet, press your feet into the ground so that it slowly brings your head up towards the ceiling. Slow as you can go to feel the activation of your foot. Good. And just feel how strong your lower body is, how awake your lower body is now. Good. And then bring all that good awareness up. We're going to bend your knees and scoop your hands down, and then brush up your legs, up to your heart, around your neck, back of the head, and then down the back of the neck, reverse down over your chest, down to your feet. And then this time as you go up, you're going to tap the sides of your legs all the way up, and then we're going to tap the inside down. And once more up and down. And then brush up. Good. And circle over your hips. Lovely. And then just flex your feet and lift one heel at a time and just waken up the arch of your foot. Whenever I do feet exercises, I always use my hands too. So it's kind of like a little claw in the hands, and they really work together, I think, the sole of the foot and the sole of the hand. Good, and just let your arms swing. And then we're just going to do one more swing before we go on to the next thing. So we're just going to circle around and just loosen out the rotation through the spine. Letting your neck be free. Close your eyes if you want, or if you get dizzy, keep them open. How much can you let go into your swing? Lovely. Really great. Good. And then shake out your wrists, shake out your legs, your feet. And then I said at the start, if you can get a dictionary or a really big book, we're going to stand on something really thick for the next task. So you're getting a big book, and you're going to lean against a wall if you can, or something that's going to support you. It'll be easier. Or a chair, have a chair maybe. And with the book there, you're going to, the leg that's nearest the wall, you're going to stand that one on the book. So the leg that is nearest the wall is standing on the book. And the other leg, you're just going to flex it beside it as if it was standing too, but obviously it's mid-air. Yeah? So what you're going to do is you're just going to think of the hinge of the hip and just swing your hip. Just a little swing. And just notice with your foot flexed, it's just hovering through the air. Little swing. And then relax the toes. If you feel that you're not going to touch the ground, you can relax them a little, but otherwise you can keep them a little bit flexed. And then find your position that feels good for you, and try and keep your knees straight. So try not to kind of bend it. It may soften, but just you're not bending it in the swing. So keep it straight. Keep your hand in front of your hip, and I want you to feel into your hips. So as we do this movement, we're loosening and we're coming into the psoas muscle that connects from the spine into the hips, and we're just loosening out, lengthening on this side of the body. So again, try not to bend the knee and just swing and swing. And as you do it, you'll notice that your supporting leg, the leg that's standing on the book, is engaged and it's having its own strengthening session while you release on the opposite side. So if it's too much, do less. And let's do last few seconds. And then for the fun of it, going back to my ballet routines, let's swing the leg and we'll bend it a little. So little bend, little bend, little bend. And you can keep the foot relaxed when it bends. We're just opening up through the hip again. And then lastly, one more, straight, straight, and straight. Good. And then you're going to come to stand. And come to stand and close the eyes, drop the arms, and just feel into the two legs and just notice what you feel. What's happening through the body? what different sensations are happening on the two sides. Maybe pulsing or throbbing. And the two sides can be very, very different because they're doing totally different things. And just really feel into that. And remember your exhales from earlier and just really relax from the spine down into the legs. Good. And then soften your knees, little bend through the knees, drop your chin into your chest. And wrap your arms around your body until you touch your shoulder blades. And then press through the feet like we did before to lengthen the head up. And as you do it, open your arms out like bird's wings. Inhale, little arch. And exhale, wrap your arms, bend your knees, curling over. And once more. And wrap. Good. Release your arms, let them hang. And then again, press through the feet to bring you upwards, keeping the knees soft. Slowly coming all the way up. Nice. And now let's go and do the other side. So come back to your book or your dictionary, something that's hard anyway so you can stand on it. And now the other foot is on the book, the foot that's nearest the wall or your chair support. And come to stand, flex your foot on an imaginary surface, and then slowly begin to swing. And try and keep your eyes on the horizon, try and keep your hips square. And not a big swing, try and just feel the hip into the pelvis. Keep your hand on your hip so you can feel that. And just notice if this side feels very different to you. So typically we do have one side. Okay, so I'm going to give some feedback here. So don't let the head move as much. So look at my head, it's above my pelvis. I'm not moving it forwards and backwards. Keep it on top. It means your range of movement will be less, but you're being more sincere in your movement through the hip. So, good. And then just notice again, I was saying there, like if this leg is so different to the other leg, is it more easeful, you know, because one side of our psoas muscle is usually a little more activated than the other. Not in everybody, but in a lot of people. And then little bend and little bend, if that feels good for you. And let that go, and then long leg again, long leg, no bend through the knee. Keep the head on top, little swing and swing. Notice if the glute muscle on the other side of your leg is supercharged now. Good. And if it's too much at any point, you can always stop. And then come to stand. Close the eyes and notice. Notice the difference of sensation from one side engaging muscle tone, the other side releasing. Notice the sole of the foot on each side, how that had a different function, so the tone in the foot is also different. Good. Good stuff. And now you're going to, you can put your dictionary away if you want. And you're going to come to either your chair or your wall, and you're just going to press against the wall until your hips are back and your hips are above your ankles. So your hips are above your ankles, press against a chair, wall, door, whatever. And your hips are above your ankles and you're just letting your whole body be long. And you're not dropping through the back, you're keeping a flat back if you can, and just lengthen and press into the wall so that you're getting a nice lengthening from your lower back into your wrists. And then from here, I want you to just bend your right knee and bring your weight over your right foot. And then come through the center, bend your left knee, bring your weight over your foot. So you're going from side to side. And the other side. And the other side. And then come back into the middle again. And if you feel like it, you can walk your feet wider. If it feels like you'd like to try that, or maybe narrower if you started very wide. And bring your hips, bend the knee, and just notice how it comes more into the inner thighs. And up. And one more. Bend over the other leg. And come up. Good. And then bring your hands to your thighs. Bend your knees, turn your toes out so you come into a squat position. And just have a lovely squat, goddess squat. And then again, press through the feet to come up. So in the squat, you're just going to move your way from foot to foot. And you're just opening up the sole of the foot, feeling the whole leg engage. And then gradually come up and up and up, higher and higher. And then bring the toes in, the heels in, the toes in, the heels in. Close your eyes and stand. Notice how your body is. Notice the angle of your hips. It may be that you feel your two hips are maybe more rotated inwards or outwards, or just noticing whatever is occurring for you. For me, typically after these movements, I notice a more neutral position through the hip bone. And if you look down at your feet are probably more parallel than usual. Usually one foot kind of creeps out to the side. So rest in whatever your experience. And maybe you're feeling, your legs alive in a different way. Because the whole leg has been activated, not just stretching or strengthening, but through all of the movement, all the range of motion. And last moment, just sink into your body. Notice the stability, centeredness that you may be feeling. Great. And then from here, you're going to just drop the head, chin into chest, and slowly come down and bend the knees and come into a little rounded over position. So you're on your soles of your feet and you're dropping your head. Dropping your head. Close the eyes. And we're letting a gentle stretch come up from the back, underside of your foot, and likely the spine is getting to soften. And from here, drop your knees onto the ground if it feels comfortable for you, and let the underside of your feet have a stretch. So if it's your first time to do this, it can be very intense. So whatever feels good for you, stretching the underside, and if it's not good, then go back into the previous position. And then press the hands into the floor and come back into your curled up position and drop your head. And just notice after having done that movement, that position might be more comfortable now. And breathe into your lower back. Lovely. And then from here, hallelujah, we're going to go down into our heels and onto our bum. And we're going to hug our knees into our chest. If it feels good for you, go for a little rock and roll. If it doesn't, then go slowly back or go from the side backwards. Little rock. And if it feels good, coming up to sit and just massaging out of the spine. After all of the movement we did standing, it should feel so nice. Ironing out any bumps and tension and tightness. Keep your chin in towards your chest as you roll. Once more. And on the last one, come to lie on your back. Drop your feet. Relax your arms. Close your eyes. And just notice how you're feeling. Your knees are bent up so your feet are standing on the floor. And give your body time to settle. Well done, that should feel really nourishing after our standing movements. From here, you're in your neutral, your natural position. I want you to slowly let the pelvis round so that your lower back comes lower to the floor, and feel how it affects the spine, the chin maybe comes into your chest. So you're bringing the lower back, even the middle back, into contact with the floor, maybe your shoulder blades as well. Feel as much of your spine in contact with the floor as possible. And I just want you to go back to neutral, where you came from. So looking at you from the outside, it would look like very little movement. And then round into the floor again, little by little, take your time, really feel your spine. And the two sides of the spine tend to have different tones, so try and synchronize your movement as best you can. Try and feel the difference between the two sides of the spine. Come out, relax. And once more, slowly flatten through the lower back, the middle back, all the way up. Notice how much of your spine you're able to feel. And then come into neutral again. And then you're going to find either, you can try if you like with your books. I hadn't thought about using my dictionary, but I can try. Otherwise, you can use a soft blanket, if you have one nearby, under your pelvis. But what you're going to do is you're going to bring it behind your pelvis first if you're in a seated position. So the book or the cushions, whatever it is, book might be good because again it's sturdy. And I'm just letting my middle back go over the book, and then if I can, I'm letting my shoulders and my chest open. So the book is just above my pelvis and I'm opening my chest. And just let your hands rest, maybe palm up feels good for you. If this is too much for you, then just stay in contact with the floor and just go into an arch position with your lower back. And rest. It's great to put my dictionary to use after so long. And so what we're doing now is we're lengthening from the waist, the side body, without any effort. It's like the psoas lengthening with the leg swings. It's a similar idea, just bringing more space between your thoracic spine and your lower back. And then next you're going to walk your feet in towards your bum and lift your bum off the ground and bring your book or whatever your prop is underneath your pelvis so that your whole of your sacrum is sitting on the book or whatever your object is. And it should feel really, really nice. And rest your hands wherever feels good. And then you're going to take your right knee into your chest. And with your right knee into your chest, just rest. And your left leg is slowly, slowly going to lengthen along the ground until it's long. And this is beautiful for the psoas muscle. Hopefully it feels very nice for you. So you're getting this lovely length from the spine, over the hip, and down to the floor. And rest. If for some reason hugging the knee in is too intense, you can let it go so that it's not directly into your chest and it's above your hip. So do nothing and just rest. And breathe into the belly. And smile to yourself, knowing that you're letting go of so much tension, emotion, everything that's associated to the hip is typically emotional, but stress in general can really sit here. Any tightness from sitting at a desk as well, when a chair isn't ergodynamically designed, which is most chairs. And soften. Can you soften the whole of your spine? Relax your eyes, your jaw. And then very, very slowly, the knee that's hugged into your chest, just push it away so that the hip flexors don't have to engage. Just push it away until the knee is above your hip. And just notice how that kind of softens the stretch on the left side. And you can hold on to the front of that leg with your fingertips if you can reach. And then once more, slowly use your fingertips to bring the right knee towards your chest. Just notice what happens on the other side of your body as you do this. It's like there becomes more of an arch up and over from the hip down to the heel. And on your last exhale, slowly let the knee go back to the center and bring that foot to the ground of the right foot. Rest for a moment. Notice if you feel very tired and very sleepy here. That is because the psoas is just such a huge bundle of nervous tissue. You know, some people say that it's more of a nerve than a muscle. So there's so much involved here. So when we soften through the hips in general, it can be a huge relief. So if you do feel tired or even emotional, that's perfectly normal for this kind of work. And if you feel nothing, that's grand too. Every day is different. And then from where you are, the left leg, which is the long leg, is going to bend out to the side. So bend the knee out to the side, so the hips rotated outwards, and then bring the foot, the knee up so that the foot comes to standing and rest. And just notice how you are. Make sure you're comfortable. If the height is too much for you, adjust or put something under your shoulders perhaps. And just notice how your breath, your exhale might be getting longer. You might feel like sighing a little to let go of anything holding. Drop the shoulders more into the floor. And as you exhale next time, really melt the sternum, the chest bone. Anywhere that feels tight, you can always give a soothing touch of your hand to help it relax. And now, with the support of your right foot into the ground, slowly bring your left knee in towards your chest. Nice and slow. Notice what happens through your spine as you do that. And if you want, you can hug the knee in or just let it hover. Try and feel what's appropriate for you. Don't give too much weight. The side has just been lengthening, so be gentle. And just for a moment, actually press the knee into your hands and just lengthen it away. Press your knee into your hands and lengthen it away from your chest, away from your chest. And press the knee away, away, away. This just locks in the length that you've been creating. And exhale, drop the knee into your chest. And it may be a very different experience to the last time you brought the knee in. And relax. And then slowly lengthen your right leg onto the floor. Leg is long and relaxed. Whatever way feels good for your body. Notice any gripping in the jaw or the shoulders and let that go. Notice how you feel. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Can you breathe deep into your pelvis? And then slowly, your hands now are going to move your knee. So different to before. Your hands push your knee away so the knee is passive. And then just let the knee balance on top of the hip. You can have one arm holding on to the knee over the front of the knee if that feels good, whatever works for you. Or if you want to use a scarf or something to support that. You can't reach your knee. And breathe, relax. Let your whole lower leg relax. And notice how you feel. Working with this other hip could be a whole other experience. Notice if there's any shakiness through your breath. Trembling. The likelihood is your breath and your breathing has really slowed down. And then slowly bring the knee into your chest. Using your hand so there's no effort through the leg. And not pulling it or pushing it, just bring it slightly further in. Hug it and rest. One more deep breath in. On your exhale, slowly press the knee away. Keep it soft, no activation in the front of the hip. And then drop the foot to the floor. And then with the left foot on the floor, just rest there for a moment. Keep listening to your body. Quality of your breath. All of the dancing inside of you. And then visualize and sense into your long leg, your right leg, that may feel like it's on holidays now. And slowly let the knee go out to the side, bending, and then bring the foot back to stand. Rest your shoulder blades back. Close your eyes and rest. If it's uncomfortable having the support under your pelvis, you can always remove it at this point. Or otherwise, we'll keep it just a moment longer. And now, hopefully you have a tie or what else could you use? A belt. I'm just using an old cord, a cable, something like that nearby that you don't have to move too much. And if you don't, you don't have to use a prop either, but it's just there as an option. So we're going to do one more practice with the support under the sacrum, and if it's not working for you and you don't like it, you can always remove it. So come onto the ball of the right foot and bring the knee into the chest, keeping the front of the hips soft. Bend the knee so your foot is standing on the ceiling, and take your thigh around the ball of your foot, and then just lengthen. Press your foot into the ceiling, just like we did on the floor. I want you to press the foot into the ceiling to lengthen your legs. So don't think of lengthening from the knee, but through the foot. Try and keep your heel above your hip. And sometimes it feels like it's above it and it's not. And from there, that might be enough for you. And we're not trying to go into a pure hamstring stretch here. So if you're shaking a lot, then please bend your knee. Okay? So if you're shaking, bend your knee. Otherwise, you can stand on the ceiling, as we say in this position. And with the left foot, I want you to slowly lengthen the leg if it feels good. Lengthening the leg away if it feels nice. And we're coming into the more advanced position here for lengthening through the front of the hips. And maybe give a little bend through your knee now, just a little bend, just to make sure that the focus is not muscular, that you're actually can focus on the resting and releasing through. And again, you'll notice a shake through the muscles of the leg that you have up in the air. That's perfectly fine. Just trust your body, let your body do what it needs to do. It's just processing all this information through the hips. And then one more breath. Really let your exhales be long. And then bend the knee right into your chest. And As you bend the knee into the chest, notice how the opposite hip is getting another kind of a stretch, or stretch isn't the right word, but you're feeling more maybe higher up into the waist on the opposite side. And then lengthen the foot to the ceiling one last time. And then slowly bend the knee. Notice what happens in your opposite hip. And you can release the grip, hug your knee into your chest. And then bring the foot to the floor. Notice again the movement in your opposite hip when you bring the foot to the floor. There's a total shift there in that side of the pelvis. And just rub your hand on the front of your left hip and just, really registering through your touch all that's going on in the hips. Good. Exhale, relax your shoulder blades. Draw your left knee out to the side. Bring the foot to standing. Lovely, lovely. Good. And rest for a moment. And then come onto the ball of the foot, of the left foot. Keep one hand in front of the hip flexor of the left side and just try and soften here. Try and keep this area soft so it's a crease. You're creating a crease, so you're hugging the space between your hand and your hip. Okay, and then hug your knee in, exhale. Don't hug it too far that you're giving too much pressure in, because after that lengthening, your hip just wants a gentle hug, not to over stretch in any way. And then slowly bring your knee away and bend your knee, find your support, your belt, whatever helps you, and lengthen up to the ceiling. Obviously you don't need a support here too, you could just stand your foot up, but if you like having something to hook the ball of your foot onto, go for it. And apply all the wisdom of the first side, letting your knee bend if the foot is shaking, keeping your heel above your hip, closing the eyes, relax the shoulders. And then bend the knee a little into your chest so that the leg feels comfortable, and slowly lengthen your right leg away. Notice how this side feels. It could be very, very different. Nice. Notice whatever your experience. If there's a lot of shaking, bend the knee more of the leg that's in the air. So it could be both hips you're aware of, or just one hip. And very different on two sides typically. And play with how it feels to bend a little more through the knee. What does that create through the rest of your body? And maybe a little lengthening again to stand on the ceiling. And a little bend again, just a soft bend. And having one or two long, long breaths. And then on your next exhale, slowly bending the knee into the chest. You can release your support and just let the knee rest. Let your hands do whatever feels best. And bring your focus towards the hip that is long, the right leg. How can you soften more the right side of your body from waist to toe? And really, 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 really rest. Deep rest. You may feel like you could fall asleep right now. Again, this is just a positive effect of working through the hips. Letting go through the body. One last exhale. And then slowly, when it feels right for you, really super slow, gradually bring the knee above the hip. Your left knee, really slow, super slow, so you can feel how that affects the right leg. Knee down and your foot on that side back to standing. Just notice how it feels across your pelvis. And as you breathe in now, you may notice that your breath is much longer and deeper and fuller, and it's like it fills the balloon of the pelvis. And as you exhale, just let everything go. And now the beautiful moment where you're going to press into your feet, lift your pelvis and move your support to one side. And so it's like a mini bridge pose. But try not to move your hips higher or lower after removing your block. And just notice how steady and hopefully horizontal or symmetrical you feel, and how this is possibly the most comfortable bridge pose you've ever been in. And then relax your arms where it feels good and massage down through the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, until you bring all of your spine in contact with the floor. And rest with your knees up for the time being. After a lot of release in healing hip work, you can find that your body temperature sometimes drops. So if you want, grab a rug or something to put over yourself and let your hands rest on the body if that feels nice for you, maybe in a pelvic triangle position, whatever feels good. And notice your new neutral. So before, your neutral may have been higher off the ground. Now you may feel a little more earthed, a little lower. Do you remember at the start we were bringing the spine into the floor, and maybe now that feels like neutral to you. And just notice the two sides of your body. They might feel a bit more symmetrical. The distance between hip and waist, lower rib may feel more symmetrical as well. And in general, just the distance of from your ribs to your pubic bone, there may be a sense of really being long in the lower body, because you've literally grown and gained, I would estimate, an inch anyway. So you've lengthened through the hip flexors, the psoas, and the backs of the legs. Just feel how the spine, the lower back, is really has let go into the floor more. And then very slowly drop one knee out to the side and lengthen your leg and rest. And drop the other knee out to the side, lengthen your leg and rest. And again, you might like to grab a blanket, pop it over you for a minute or two, and just really absorb the goodness of your practice. And hopefully you feel harmony in your hips. And it's likely that you will have a really deep, healing night's sleep now. And from where you are, I'd imagine that you are ready for sleep, or you're happy to just stay flat like a pancake into the floor. But if you like, we can take a moment now to finish up together and check in. And otherwise, you can feel free to rest. If you are coming to sit, bringing one knee to stand, the other knee to stand, curling up onto one side of your body. Take a moment, breathing deep. And then slowly use your hands to support you to come into any seated position. And once you're seated upright, just rest here for a minute. Just let everything settle. And if you wish, you can come from seated position into slow uncurl into standing. And when we come to stand, and you can do this later, otherwise you will feel how it is now to stand on your feet after this hip work. And a lot of things might be going on. You may feel a lightness through your chest, a softness, like just a whole bunch of weight has just dropped off. Just notice what that is for you. Really just honoring your body, listening in. Notice again the alignment of your hips, how the feet are more neutral than typical. The hips may feel, if you typically turn out a lot through the hips may be feeling really turned in, but it's just because they're so neat in the hip socket. After mobilizing all of the muscles around this beautiful hip and femur area. So I hope it feels good. I hope you feel centered, and notice a lightness through your legs. You know, it's not a tiresome feeling, and that it's this lovely lengthening and very holistic, whole body. And keeping that softness into your body, bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly, and just hug it in with a circle. And then rubbing at the lower back. Lower back. Your long lower back. It's really lengthened out the front of the hips. And then down over the knees to the feet, thanking our legs for a glorious practice this evening. and our belly and all of those vital organs behind. And then let's bring a brush over our face, down our shoulders, back to our heart and our chest, and bring our hands together and we say namaste. So thank you all for joining me for this practice today. I hope you're feeling your healing hips and that you're feeling a lot of lightness through your body now. So see you next time here at Healing Yoga.